Hello, Lothar here again. This video is on dealing with the cold. Now, you might see behind me, it's been snowing. I am currently at Sibbots Flats Campground. That's probably a place you might pass on your maybe your second or third day on trail. Just had a dumping of snow, and there's a whole basically another 15 miles north. You go through past Mount Lagoon and places like that where they probably got a much heavier dousing of snow, but it just shows that even in late February we're still getting dousings of snow, and there will be seasonal storms and infrequent storms probably through March, April. So keep an eye out and watch the weather forecast. Now, how to deal with cold. Now, most of the things you're going to deal with, you've probably already decided your kit. You've decided what your quilt rating is going to be. You've decided what your pad's going to be. You've decided the coats and the different layering systems. So let's talk through what I did and see if it relates to how you're thinking. I looked on PCT discussion pages, over the last few years when I was a section hiker, and people talk about maybe 20 Fahrenheit bags or quilts. So now I generally feel the cold, so I elected to go 10 degrees lower. I went to a 10 degree Fahrenheit Enlighten equipment quilt, and I paired that with a Thermarest pad. And now the one I finally settled on, I think, was R rating of 3.5. So I've made my choice. Now, are you going to be on trail, and are you going to get cold? The simple answer is absolutely. You're going to go through some situations where your equipment will be pushed to the limit. So I'll give an example. I will post. I took a number of videos as I was approaching the ascent to Mount Whitney. Basically, that is a hike from Kennedy Meadows south, past Cottonwood Pass, and you arrive at Crabtree Meadows. Now, what happened in my particular case was that I was looking at the long-range weather forecast and the short-range weather forecast, and the way I was hiking, it worked out that I would have 2 days of snow flurries. It looked like a storm, but it was, when you looked at the number of the amount of predicted snow level and depth and things, it was a light storm. You might say there's no such thing as a light storm, but no, this was a short, so half of the day was sort of snowfall, then there'd be a pause, and then there'd be a second day, half a day of snow and a pause, and then bright sunshine for the next few days. So I timed it just right that I'd be hiking through those 2 days of snow, and I'd hit Crabtree Meadows the day before the bright sunshine arrived, so I could go up Whitney in perfect weather. So what I had to experience through those snowstorms actually was a good experience, because it proved that I got the balance by luck or skill, I don't know. I got the balance of the kit just right, because I'll post a video now, so just where it's a snippet where I took a shot of the kind of conditions I was walking through. So I'll pause now, I'll show you that. Well, I've certainly reached the Sierras. I'm in a snowstorm, just gone past Cottonwood Pass. There's a big rock face up there covered in snow. This is a beautiful lake here. I don't know what that looks like in summer, but yeah, I think it's safe to say in a snowstorm like this, I don't know if you can pick up the snow on the camera, but yeah, very beautiful. Glad to be here. I'm carrying on as long as I can still see the path, and I'll camp hopefully in about probably a couple of hours time. But as you can see, well, maybe you can, I don't know, but actually to follow the trail, it's just enough, or not enough snow to cover it. So it's actually quite a good time to just bang out the miles. Because if I try to follow this tomorrow morning, it's going to be covered in snow, and I have to have guttocks out all the time because I'd never be able to see the path. So I'm going to go as long as I can, keeping in sight of where the campsites are. And at some point, when the trail just gets too difficult to follow, I'll break for the nearest campsite, and then wake up tomorrow morning knowing full well it's microspikes and probably guttocks to try and find the trail. But yeah, it's good fun. Good experience, and I actually think a lot of people will make the mistake of just stopping, and it's just going to be so much harder tomorrow. So I'm trying to get as many miles today and keep them painful for the hiking into Crabtree Meadows to a minimum. If I keep going, I might be able to limit it to about maybe 8 miles of rough terrain navigating snow and ice rather than say 16 miles, which would be a lot harder. Right, I'll stop there. Okay, so you can see on trail I was wearing my puffy jacket. Underneath that I had my wind jacket. It was a Patagonia Houdini. Then I had my hike top, and then on my lower levels I had my long trousers, tourist long trousers, and I was wearing my merino long johns. And I also was wearing trail runners with darn tough socks. Underneath the darn tough socks I had neoprene booties that kept my feet warm in the snow. So when I was hiking, I was fine, absolutely toasty. Problem arises is when you stop. So after that first instance where I'd gone through the snow, I hiked the first day. That was the first day of snow, and I camped, and then I experienced my first real my real morning of cold. And I'll then show you the next section of the video. So it's me talking, so you can see my eyes quite puffy because I puff up when things were really cold. My eyes were watering. It's probably one of the coldest times on trail for me, but it proved that I'd got the kit about right. So I'll show that video now. Okay, this is the reality of hiking the PCT, or one of them. A freezing cold night. I'm just going to show you my socks here. I don't know if you can see. These are my socks. I'm going to hit against a tent pole. They're basically frozen solid. That's one. My shoes are. There's the other sock. That's the other frozen sock. Can you hear that? So yeah, it's snow on the ground outside. Look. Freezing. I don't know if you can see properly, but it's 7 in the morning now. My Mohican is looking pretty good. Oh, I'm loath to get out of my sleeping bag, but I'm going to have to at some point because I've got to do probably only another 6 to 10 miles. So, Candy Meadows. Not Candy Meadows, Crabtree Meadows, and then I can camp up again and prepare to go up Mount Whitney. Oh well, that's the reality of it. Snow outside, snow on the ground, freezing in here, but actually with the quilt and when you've got all the clothes on, yes, don't sleep too bad actually. Anyway, that's the reality. I've got to put my shoes on and go to the toilet. Oh, it's 7 in the morning and it's snow outside and it's freezing. Well, the sun is coming out, so I better make at least a move to the toilet anyway. Check again soon. Hopefully the weather's going to get a little bit warmer today, and then I can hopefully air a few things out. So there, you could see that it was cold, but I'd managed to get the layers just right. So I had the puffy jacket on, I had my Houdini on again, but I still had, so with that, when I was sleeping, so the combination of the 10-degree quilt plus those multiple layers of clothing which are trapping air were enough to keep me warm, and I had actually a reasonably good night's sleep. The problem was getting up first thing in the morning and actually opening the quilt up and actually stepping out and going to the bathroom. That's where it was painful. But I also had I had a spare capacity, because if I needed an extra layer, I probably would have put my rain pants on and my rain jacket on. That's just another full layer of air trapped that would give me warmth. And I did have another very, very thin top that again I could have used, but thankfully I didn't. So it proved that my kit was probably dialed in as good as I could get. Now, I then hiked to Crabtree Meadows, so I'll post the next bit of the video just now, and it kind of shows how the conditions how it was. It proved it was a very reasonably light storm, and how the snowfall can be very different in different locations. So I'll show that video now. Okay, this is basically the descent down into Crabtree Meadows. That's looking almost north, maybe northwest. That's the direction I'm going to be heading out after I've descended this into Crabtree Meadows and gone up into that section there, and then in the distance you should be able to see Mount Whitney. So that's certainly what I'm looking forward to doing tomorrow. So yep, I'm going to camp down there, have a big meal, yeah, try and dry everything out as best I can. Hopefully there's no more snow tonight, certainly in this region, and then yeah, I'm Gonna head out that way, which if you look at the distance there, the snow coverings on some of these look a lot worse, so gonna get the weather report from the ranger station up at Crabtree Meadows, not only for Whitney, which at first sight doesn't look too bad, but also further up the PCT and see what they recommend. Anyway, that's it for now. Catch up soon. Okay, so you can see now the area of Crabtree Meadows, which is it's slightly lower than where I was at Cottonwood Pass, but it was the snow was actually clearing quite quickly once the sun was out. So I was now approaching Crabtree Meadows. I was still going to get another dousing of snow, light snow, whilst I was approaching Crabtree Meadows, and I got there, and again I had another very cold night. I was one of only 4 or 5 hikers there. Because I think the snowstorm actually put a lot of people off. I think they saw a snowstorm and they judged that the conditions weren't comfortable with the conditions, which I fully understand, and they diverted to Lone Pine, and that's why, so rather than have 30 or 40 hikers at Crabtree Meadows, we had 5, and then we went up to Whitney the next day. But the morning of my Whitney hike, again, I had another freezing cold night. Not when I was sleeping, again, my kit was about right. Again, it's the painful bit is when you open things up and you have to get out, maybe go to the bathroom, and that's when you really experience the cold for the first time, and then you might have to do jumping jacks or something, or just get things moving. But yeah, again, it proved that the different combinations of kit, you could get a very good rating overall for sleeping. So the 10 degree plus all your clothes takes you down another level in terms of camping. Now, if you find a different experience whereby maybe early on you're getting cold and you put all your clothes on and you're still cold at night and you're having problems sleeping, then you've got a number of options. You could obviously buy one of these things called a liner. Now these are just basically a mummy, sort of little bag where you pull up and you sleep inside that, and it might have a rating of 5 degree, 10 degree, 15 degree, and they get heavier depending on how much additional warmth they provide. But that is a very, very viable option if say you have a situation where you're cold at one night and then another night you're still cold and you're not getting that night's sleep. You still need that good night's sleep, and that's where you might have to come off trail for a day, go to REI or one of the local stores, and maybe buy a liner. Upgrading a quilt is a major undertaking if you don't want to do that, but it just means that don't be afraid if you get cold. It's not a disaster. Don't panic. It's more the fact you've got to ride through it and then think, right, what can I change? Just think methodically. How can I get more layers on? Even if it's a bit silly, you're sleeping in your rain pants, you're sleeping in long johns, you're sleeping in hiking trousers. Don't be afraid. And you might have multiple layers of gloves on. You might have your booties on your feet, and you might have extra pairs of socks. Just think about layers, and that's the bit which will, if it's methodically think about it, you'll do fine. I did hear a couple of people who came off trail because they just couldn't deal with the cold. But I think there were other issues as well. But it would be a shame if you come off, because it's something that is very manageable. But don't be afraid to think, right, we've got to change something. Don't be afraid. But yeah, I had a good experience. I hope the videos of my coldest day on trail were interesting. I love tapping my frozen solid socks onto my tent pole. It's almost like a rite of passage when you have to do that. I've done it before in other places, but doing it on the PCT was great. But I hope that's helpful. I've got a string of videos coming on different things like this that you may have to deal with on trail. But yeah, it's a great experience, and I hope you have a good hike. Speak to you soon.